So here we are, my friends. Can you believe it? We are but a few days away from John Cena's last ever wrestling match. I now totally believe Mr. Cena is never going to wrestle again because he's been so adamant about it. I don't see, even if you came up with a proposition that he likes, he'd be able to accept it because the backlash would be too crazy. But at the same time, who cares, man? Even if one day he did want to wrestle again, life's too short and you should allow people to do whatever the flub they want. But given that Saturday night's main event is going down this Saturday, you know the deal. We have to predict the thing. So yes, we're going to get knee-deep into John Cena versus Gunther. We've got 4 matches at the moment, and I guess they could add another, but that'd be quite tough because it's only a 2-hour show. And you'd have to imagine that a lot of it is going to be loving, but I don't know, it depends what John Cena wants, I suppose. And also, it's not actually on sort of normal television now. It is just on streaming, so maybe that does mean they can extend it. But I will add any extra matches in the comments below. Please do subscribe if you have enjoyed my rambling so far. Let's go. Now, a match I'm very excited about is AJ Styles and Dragon Lee taking on Siobhan Evans and Leon Slater, just because how the hell have we even got here? Even Dragon Lee joining WWE at one point in time would have been next to impossible, especially to be showcased as this, which you could say was the same for an AJ Styles. AJ Styles was Mr. TNA for ages, then he was Mr. New Japan. And even when he did join in 2016, I don't think anybody would have expected him to reach the heights that he did do, not because of AJ Styles, but because of the way Vince McMahon used to see talent like AJ. He is one of the best to ever do it. And if you are just talking about bell to bell, I think he could be number one. That's a conversation we just sit down and have. But the really excellent thing here is, of course, Leon Slater especially, because they had that moment in TNA as well, has been very vocal about how AJ Styles was one of the guys that inspired him. So just before he's about to retire, you are having this wonderful generational shift. So if John Cena did come up with this NXT versus the main roster idea, couple of thumbs for that, bud, because it's absolutely awesome. Same with Siobhan. Both Siobhan and Leon are going to be totally fine. And Dragon Lee, he's not that old. Like, as long as you push them in the right way and give them right stories and protect them as much as possible, there's no way that those three aren't going to be megastars for a long time to come. I do obviously lean more on the side of Leon, as we talked about yesterday in the video, just because I've shared a locker room with that guy. I've wrestled on cards where that guy has wrestled on. It's no big surprise to see him get to where he did get to, because he's always been that good. You're like, well, you're going to make it. How could you possibly not make it? But to see it actually happen, it makes you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. So I just hope he goes out there and smash it. Now, the extra awesome part about this Saturday night's main event is that none of the titles are on the line. So you really have to sit down and decide who is going to win and who is going to lose. I suppose it all depends on what the idea of this is. You can't just have all the NXT guys winning, I do not think, just because you want it to feel like there's jeopardy in the air. You want to make sure there's a story as well, that some NXT guys do lose and you turn it into their narrative of, man, I was this close. Now I've got to level myself up. I've got to make sure I've been twice the competitive that I was before. And then you do the rematch at some point. I'm not 100% sure you'll be able to do that with AJ Styles. I think here, I would let AJ Styles and Dragon Lee win, only because, I mean, it depends what Leon Slater's future with TNA is. If he jumps across to NXT, good for that guy, right? You see some people going mad as well. Like, Leon had to pull out of, I think, a Rev Pro show and a WXW show this weekend. And of course that sucks if you'd bought a ticket to see that show. But I also think we can all take a step back and realize he is living the dream right now. And sometimes living the dream comes with some caveats. If you don't want Leon to be on Saturday night's main event because of that, I would just go look in the mirror a little bit. Nobody would say no, right? He's been offered the opportunity of a lifetime. But what I mean is, if Leon is going to come across to NXT, we've already seen one proper match between them. I wouldn't have Leon Slater and Siobhan Evans as a tag partnership. I'd get them into a proper old feud. I'd actually do that on Raw and SmackDown, but it has to go down on NXT. That's perfectly fine as well. And maybe a way you could start that is here. Again, I don't actually think there is going to be any real follow-ups to any of these. I think it's just meant to be a showcase of those that WWE who thinks have the most potential going forward, which could be a lot of other people as well. Maybe it's because of the state of the Raw tag team division. Unless you're going to put Siobhan and Leon right on Raw. I don't know. My gut just says AJ and Dragon Lee will win. Either way, I don't think AJ Styles takes the pin, even though I bet he'd be way up for that. But I have a feeling that AJ Styles pins Leon Slater would be my guess, mostly because then maybe we can manifest a singles rematch in 2026, which is kind of ridiculous. It's going to be so much fun. Siobhan and Leon both don't seem phased by big opportunities like this. Like, okay, it's more people and it's a bigger company, etc., but we're still going to go out there and do our thing. They'll win the main roster audience over in around about 4.2 seconds. AJ Styles is the legend. Dragon Lee is massively underrated, which is why I'm glad he's having this tag team now with AJ Styles, because he does get to fly and prove how good he is. I'm going to go with AJ and Dragon Lee but I don't really have a lot of justification here. I think it probably ties in to one stupid result that I am going to actually call. In retrospect, I think that Leon and Javon will win, but that's not what I'm going with. Only because my next prediction, well, it would be quite the thing. Because it is Femi versus Cody Rhodes, or really the WWE champion versus the NXT champion, given that not only did Oba beat Ricky Saints at the Deadline show, but he beat Javon Evans on NXT last night as I'm recording this, because Ricky Saints screwed Javon Evans over. Seems like Ricky Saints is going to go through his heel run at NXT, which is kind of interesting. I like it when you get brand new recruits that have their face run, they have their heel run, then they go up to the main roster. Ricky Saints does not need that. Ricky Saints is quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, he's well seasoned as both a good guy and a bad guy, but WWE has their way. But anyway, we have Femi versus Cody Rhodes. I would have Femi win. And the reason I would have Femi win, and I suppose the original idea I had was that Javon Evans was going to beat him when he cashed in his Iron Survivor Challenge victory. He did do that on NXT, so we can't do that anymore. Going back to what I just said, I actually think Cody Rhodes is going to win here, which means Javon and Leon can win the last match. But that ain't the predictions I'm going for, because that's boring. We're in manifestation mode. I think Femi should beat Cody Rhodes. Now, the reason I think we should do that is because I wanted Femi to be called up. But the Royal Rumble is only just around the corner, and that's loads of time for Femi to lose the NXT Championship. If he's being called up, it doesn't matter. If all of a sudden you start hot potatoing the belt around, I do understand. But I'd have Femi beat Cody Rhodes, and then they kind of split off for a little bit before they clash at some point in the future. But Femi should keep talking about this, and Femi should be in the Royal Rumble. And while I don't think Femi would win the Royal Rumble, you better come up with a damn good reason why he does get eliminated. And that can be another reason why he doesn't go after Cody Rhodes for a little bit, because he has to deal with whoever the flub threw him out. Probably The Miz, because that's what WWE likes to do. No disrespect to The Miz, I think he's one of the best wrestlers ever, but you take my point. Now, I'm sure Cody Rhodes is going to win here, and actually 95% of the match is going to be Femi crushing him. Femi can win. The WWE title isn't on the line. What else can Femi do down at NXT? As you may have figured out, I'm a massive Femi fan. I think he should be main eventing WrestleMania in a few years, and if that is your plan for the guy, let's just go big now, right? Let's light a fire under this entire thing. He's a one-of-a-kind individual, and he's massive. Now, of course, when he gets to Raw and SmackDown, he won't be as massive because he's just the biggest guy in NXT, and there are just bigger guys on Raw and SmackDown, but he's still big. You see some people go, oh, man, he's not going to look as big on the main roster. No, but he's still humongous, and he'll still be able to stand next to a Randy Orton, a Roman Reigns, or a Brock Lesnar if you want to head in that direction and not look like a wimp. But even then, I've seen Daniel Bryan going against Brock Lesnar, but the way Daniel Bryan works, he looks like he's 1,000 foot tall. It looks like he's massive because he's so damn aggressive. Same with AJ Styles, to bring that guy back. Ultimately, yes, I feel like this is a fool's errand on my behalf, and Cody Rhodes will win just because Cody Rhodes is the poster boy. He's the face of the company. That one guy will now come and yell at me, he's not the face of the company, Roman Reigns is. They have two, okay? But Cody Rhodes at the moment is working more shows than Roman Reigns, which is Roman Reigns' right, and so in my book, that makes him the number one babyface that WWE has, because the number one babyface, as John Cena has explained over the last week during his PR tour, does this kind of jobs. More power to Joe Anoa'i, I think is Roman Reigns' real name. He's earned his rest, and one day Cody will earn his rest, and it should be people like Femi who are nipping at his heels. I do think, one way or the other, Femi is going to wreck this guy. If Femi is winning, it'll be more 50-50. I think you'll know early on what WWE's plan here is, because if Femi is just killing Cody Rhodes, I think Cody Rhodes is going to win. The issue I have is with the Crossroads, and I've talked about this before. He's going to have to hit Femi with 9 Crossroads for me to believe it, because most people, Seth Rollins kicked out of a top rope Crossroads at Crown Jewel, whatever the flub it was. That was an error. We probably should have reeled in the amount of Crossroads you have to do, but now I'm sounding like a massive nerd. I'm still sticking with Femi. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be surprising. And while Leon and Javon could beat AJ and Dragon Lee, I think they would pin Dragon Lee. And the way that WWE treat Dragon Lee, I don't think it would be a massive surprise. Obviously got Bayley versus Sol Ruka. Bayley is one of the best modern generation wrestlers that does not get enough credit. But Sol Ruka can beat her. I don't think many people would be surprised. This would surprise people. This would make people go, holy crap, Femi beat Cody Rhodes. So I think we should just do it. And it's not like he's going to drop the ball. Ever since he debuted 2 years ago, whenever the flub it was, he just gets better. His character is amazing. His promos are hilarious in the best way. Because he's going to kill people. He says stuff like, I will eviscerate you and pull your arms from your body as you bow down to me. I just think Femi is great. And I think he walks this wonderful tightrope between what wrestling was and what wrestling is. And that just makes him even more interesting as a character. Like, you could plop him in the 80s and it would probably work out because he can be quite over the top. But he also has this realness to him, which means he can exist in 2025 and 2026. So yes, my head is saying Cody Rhodes. These are heart predictions, man. Anybody can say that. It's way too easy. And I love Cody as well. He's been so good for WWE. I'm going to say that Femi wins, much like, and this ties into the show as well, when Kevin Owens got called up. Well, kind of. He's sort of like somewhere in the middle. He was in limbo and he beat John Cena, whatever the hell that show was. Great American Bash? That doesn't sound right. Nobody could believe it. One pop-up powerbomb, 1, 2, 3. It was probably more than one. But I remember him doing that move. Femi can hit all the powerbombs that he wants. He should beat Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes should be totally like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Then they spin off into their own stories before they come back for a big old match, and then Cody Rhodes can win on the main roster. That's exactly what they did with John Cena and Kevin Owens. Let me sum it up that way. We should repeat that. It ties into the show. I'm done. I'm not done. We've got 2 more matches to talk about. And this is why I probably think there has to be at least one more NXT versus main roster person. Because 3 feels a little bit like, all right, we're only getting 3. But it could be anybody, which is my issue. So again, if something else does get announced, I'll drop it down there. But if I don't get this video up today, I'm not going to be able to do it. Bayley versus Ruka is a wonderful match. Because what has Bayley just spent the last weekend doing? Like a 2-day training camp where she just, invited a bunch of women from around the world to go so she could try and make them better professional wrestlers. And I'm sure put them in contact with people where they can network and just improve both from a business point of view and an in-ring point of view. She is so important to professional wrestling. She never gets her due. People aren't nice to her in terms of, I don't even know what that means. We could just be a hell of a lot nicer. Nicer to Bayley is what I'm saying. She's great, and when she is ready to move on, which shouldn't be for a decade or more, she should continue to give back to wrestling because she knows so much, and she's had just an amazing journey. She even talked about on the Stephanie McMahon podcast or the Undertaker podcast, I think it was, where Charlotte got called up and Becky got called up and Sasha got called up from NXT, and she kind of felt like she'd been left back, but then she used that to her advantage to sort of become her own wrestler, and that she wasn't overly relying on anybody else. She's so relatable as a person and as a wrestler. If you are a wannabe up-and-comer, it's so damn good, which is why I think Ruka can win. Now, Ruka is also ready for the main roster, I think, and I could be wrong. We're going to turn her heel. We've kind of already done it in many ways. But then she would have gone through her heel run and her face run in NXT, which is when she can get brought up. But the caveat to that is apparently in 2026, WWE do want to put more NXT guys on the main roster as soon as possible. And I would just call Ruka up. Like anything she is learning in NXT, I kind of feel like she could learn on the main roster, working with not necessarily better people, but certainly more seasoned people, which actually in turn does make them better. And she's fresh and different and exciting, and she's got a cool move. Can't stand it when people go, well, that move actually would hurt Ruka. I'm like, oh, shut up. It's it's professional wrestling. If you want to watch it and be that anal about it, we have to go back to the Irish whip, as always. Today, go and try and Irish whip your friend. You don't need a ring. Just try and whip him and see if he comes bouncing back. He'll walk 2 steps and stop and be like, what are you doing? Try and powerbomb someone. They'll sandbag you. Don't do any of this. Do not try this at home. Just enjoy it, right? You're getting too bogged down with the nonsense. But I think Ruka could even do something a little bit underhanded here, given the kind of stuff she has been doing recently. But either way, I think that there are so many people that can get involved here. I understand shenanigans aren't always great, but if you are going to sort of hold back doing them throughout the rest of the show, I think you kind of could do. Ruka has so many stories going on right now. She's affiliated with so many people, as is Bayley. Like the whole tag team division is after her. I think you could do it in a way where Bayley loses and it feels like a big thing because Ruka wins. But also, this one doesn't have to turn into a major feud. It can just be something that Ruka talks about forever. I beat Bayley, I'm the best. And she probably will be the NXT Women's Champion one day. Although I think you could call up tomorrow too. I think she's got all the tools she needs to succeed. I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to be really, really good. And yeah, Ruka should win. She just should, because why not, right? I don't mean this in a bad way, because I truly do think Bayley is one of the best wrestlers WWE has. But she's kind of just taking her time at the moment with Lyra Valkyria. They're not in anything major. They do add an incredible amount of depth to this women's tag division, which I'm loving right now, because finally we're doing something with it. But she can lose here, and it doesn't affect her on what she's doing on Raw at the moment. So we should take advantage of this, and we should build to a big old match, maybe even at WrestleMania. I don't know what the plan is for Bayley and Lyra. Kind of feels like they need to fight at some point. But Mania is like, 5 months away as I'm talking to you? We could do so much in 5 months. It's essentially half a year. Why am I even talking about WrestleMania right now? I'm going with Ruka. And there could be another one, right? I'm desperately trying to think of people in NXT that could be put up against a main roster guy. Ricky Saints doesn't need to do it, and Ethan Page doesn't need to do it. Like, they've got all the experience in the world, and they would be fine tomorrow on the main roster. They don't need the rub, so to speak. But again, I will update the comments if something does come up. But John Cena versus Gunther, we can talk about till the cows come home, because, man, you can make an argument either way, and I would believe you. I love the story here. The man that lives to make people give up against the man that refuses to give up. I do believe the last time John Cena tapped out was 2005, maybe 2004, when he was still the doctor of thugonomics. But either way, we're talking about a long stretch of time. Ever since John Cena has become Mr. Hustle Loyalty Respect, basically, he ain't quit to no one. Which actually opens up the door for two very interesting finishes, especially because Gunther leaned in so heavily to this on Raw. The one that I'm going to go with, and this is my official prediction, is that Gunther spends the whole time... Gunther is going to murder this man, right? Either way, Gunther is going to beat this guy up. It's going to be like Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam 2014. But eventually, obviously, Gunther locks in the submission. John Cena does refuse to give up. We're going to tease he's going to fall asleep into all of this stuff before actually John Cena locks the STFU on him, and it's Gunther that taps out. It ties into the Gunther story because that's what he did against Jey Uso, and that's kind of become his weak point, I suppose. When he does get in trouble, he panics a little bit. But also, I think sending John Cena home as the winner is going to make us feel wonderful and happy, and we're going to have tears in our eyes, and we're going to be feeling warm and fuzzy in our tum-tum. And it's just going to allow us to enjoy the last 25 years, whatever the flub it has been, of John Cena. I think wrestling is there to make you happy. I think it should put a smile on your face. A big reason for that is what we did with Sting at AEW Revolution 2023, 4, whatever the hell it was, because it was just such a wonderful moment. I'm like, this is so more important than putting other stars over or whatever the other excuse is. And I think that would be, I would say something different if it was 1989, but it's 2025. Gunther is going to be fine regardless. Now, you can argue, well, Carmelo Hayes should be in the position. He's not, right? I'm dealing with the cards I have on the table. Gunther is a former world champion. Gunther is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Gunther is so damn unique within the worlds of WWE that he does stand out like a sore thumb in an absolutely good way. He can lose to John Cena and use that for heat, right, going forward. And whoever he feuds with next can be like, John Cena beat you, then he ran away. You know what I'm talking about here. And I actually think it helps Gunther as a character just to be in this position. I think that would be the same for anyone. It's John Cena's last match. The crowd, the electricity, the atmosphere. You also do want someone that's going to suck in all the booze. If you put Carmelo Hayes in here, I think he gets some cheers because people would be desperate to see him win. Nobody wants to see Gunther win. So this is great damn booking. And I think John Cena, again, will apply his traditional submission move that we have seen for the last 20 years. Probably as his whole body is like, he may even bleed during this. I think he's going to look like a wreck, which will be the idea of the story. And Gunther wins. However, there is a spin to all of this, and I don't think it is going to be this because I think it's too convoluted. But Gunther's big thing is, I'm going to make you tap out. I'm going to make you give up. I'm going to break your spirit. I'm going to break your body. What if he can't, right? What if he continues to apply the submission? And John Cena's just like, nah, bro, it's my last match. So he does win, but he wins by pinning him. Do you know what I mean? There is a certain horribleness to that, where Gunther was so insistent that he would win via submission to tie into all this nonsense, his words, that John Cena has been promoting for 2 decades or so. And then because he is so dastardly, he still wants to win, so he cheats or whatever the flub he does, hits his powerbomb 1, 2, 3. I do like that. I think it's interesting, and of course it gives Gunther the win. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you would only do that if you don't want Gunther to tap out. I've seen Gunther tap out. Gunther can pass to sleep, right? It's not for saying. I've screwed up my words though. But John Cena can lock it on for 47 years, and then Gunther eventually can pass out and John Cena wins. I'm going with John Cena winning. And I don't think it's a lock at all. It just goes back to what I was just talking about. I don't think you have to make a star off the back of a star anymore. I think I cut my point off a few minutes ago. I just don't. And I could be wrong. There are far more people out there that know way more about wrestling than me. But I think Gunther would benefit from it in the same way that Brock Lesnar benefited from beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30. I do think that helped. And I think if you wanted to turn Gunther into a warrior, he beats John Cena here, and he beats Brock Lesnar at some point next year. And then, my gosh, you've got a dude for another 10 years, should you so wish. But I also nowadays think there's other ways to do that. Like Gunther beating John Cena, it's not going to increase pay-per-view buy rates, which don't even exist. It's not going to increase ESPN ratings. It's not going to increase, what else do we do? Attendances. It's just not how wrestling works. That's built on star power and all these other crazy things that we don't really need to talk about because we're fans. But you do hear, because the argument I keep hearing is, well, no, Gunther must beat John Cena for the state of the business because the veteran always goes out on his back. I just don't think it's going to make any difference to WWE's bottom line. And that's what people were talking about. And of course, yes, once again, if Carmelo Hayes was in this position, maybe. But even then, I'd be like, well, it all depends on what the follow-up is. Like, let's say it was Carmelo Hayes, and he won, and then all of a sudden, he was a secret janitor, which is a storyline that WWE did in the past. He's right back to where he was. By the same token, though, if Gunther loses here, and he does go into a program of Brock Lesnar, and he beats Brock at the Royal Rumble, it would probably be at WrestleMania. I'm just spitballing here. Or he won the Royal Rumble, ain't no one going to be worrying about it. So it's all about the follow-up, and I think Gunther is going to be fine regardless. I wouldn't mind if Gunther beat John Cena, by no stretch of the imagination, because once again, if he then won the Royal Rumble, sure, he takes a couple of rungs up the ladder even still. But I think selling this idea of love, the worst I've ever said, but giving those fans in the building and all the people that we're watching around the world a feel-good moment in their tum-tums is more important these days. It just is. I think we live in a very honest and transparent and crazy world. I mean, some of it is an absolute nightmare. But people, when they tune into entertainment stuff, I think sometimes you do want that happy ending. And I think that's what we've got here. And it ties into the fact why Dominic Mysterio beat John Cena for the IC title. And that's how you make it work. Dom can be like, who was the last guy to beat John Cena? It was me. Either way, I think this is going to be great. The John Cena tournament was a bit crazy, a bit all over the place, but I still think Gunther was the right guy to do it. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to see it. I think John Cena's speech afterwards is going to ruin everybody. And just all the best to that guy. Like, he has signed a 5-year deal, so he'll be back. I think he said something like, never the jorts again, but I'll be here in suits. So we'll still get to see him, and he's going to be a part of wrestling forever. But what an amazing couple of decades. And I think it's something that any professional wrestler right now could look up to. Maybe you can't walk in the same shoes that John Cena did because he was around at a very specific time, but you can certainly learn a lot for what he has done and what he hasn't done and what he is going to go on to do. I just think it's going to be awesome, and I think it's going to be one of the best matches of the year because wrestling's all about emotion, and this thing is going to be overflowing with that stuff. I'm very excited. I'm very pumped. Of course, I want to know who you think is going to win this. That's what everyone's going to be talking about afterwards. I'm going with John Cena. I think it's the right thing to do. Let's make everybody feel good. I mean, there was even a song about that. Case closed. Not case closed, because again, you can certainly debate it. Now, yes, please do get in those comments for all those matches and give me your predictions. If you get every single one right, including the finishes, like actually what's going to happen, I'll make sure I give you a cookie. When you are down there, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell, especially if you're on mobile. If you would like to join me for my watch-alongs, a lot of which were John Cena matches recently, it's patreon.com/Simon316. If you're into fitness, it's goodonmind.com/Simon. Just go to Simon, these ship worldwide. They're the best supplements. I love them. I have a new case of stuff coming right now. Once again, my sentence structure is terrible. Simon316. Come give me a follow because it's good for my ego, especially on Instagram, because people love Instagram for some reason. Same with TikTok, same with Cameo, and same with Pro Wrestling Tees. Again, go watch all my silly backstage producing videos over on TikTok because everyone loves TikTok, which is not true. Enjoy Satellite's main event, my friends, the last ever match of John Cena, and aren't we lucky enough to still be here to watch it? I'm going to say yes. Have a great week. See you soon.